This is an open letter to the Sane Society. Um, the word originalist and the way it's used, that says basically a certain a group of people who like to adhere as closely as possible to the ideas of the founding fathers of, let's say, Uncle Sam's land. You know, whatever their ideas were, we should try to adhere as close to as possible to their ideals, so not to get lost. It makes this as much sense as when people say try to adhere to a very old text such as Quran, such as Bible, such as Torah, such as Gita, such as Mita, such as Sita. These people who sound very originalist in Constitution, they sound very much like people, like very orthodox religious people that try to adhere, or what now they call extremists. Orthodox religious extremists, more or less. If they're friends, we say, oh, they're orthodox religious, and if they're foe, we call them they're extremists. Different words for different folks. Salutes. Anyway, my point is this: those who like to are originalists as relative to Constitution of Uncle Sam's land resemble to me the same people who are very religious and try to stick to as much as possible to the script of the original text that was written in case of Christianity 2,000 years ago, in the case of Islam 1,400 years ago, in case of Torah, I guess, 2,500 years ago, 2,500 to 3,000 years ago. I'm guessing here. Don't. In case of Gita, or the Sanskrit, the religious texts of the Hindus and the other folks, go even farther, 4,000 or 5,000 years. They're trying to adhere as close as possible to these religious texts, and we already know that's not possible. That's why a lot of the Bible, is for sure, in order to live in a civilized society, a lot of the Bible is sort of looked over. Sort of like, yeah, we don't, it's there, but we don't talk about it. The last update was Mr. King James, and then after that we haven't updated it officially. So, there are some things there that we pretend they're not, because, they don't, jive with the civilized society that we like to reside in. So we just don't mention them, don't pretend they're not there. Things about how to treat your slave and how to, not overpay for a slave. And, the differentiation between the child that you have with your wife and the child that you have with your slave is like, they're differentiated. How much of your, inheritance will go to these children and how much to go. Anyway, the point is this: these, they pretend it's not there. They haven't agreed on updating the Bible, or the Quran, or the Gita, or the Torah, or no update. We are originalists. You see that it doesn't work. You either have to update the book, or you have to pretend that those pieces that you're not, you don't want to execute, don't exist. You either have to update your book or just pretend certain parts of it doesn't exist, because it's not applicable in a civilized society. In the Quran, and the whole covering business that advocates for the same, women wear the same garb as Bedouin women in a Bedouin geography, who actually wear that garb because That's what's comfortable in a dry, hot, dry, sunny place. You have to, wear something really loose and big to protect against the sun. So religion has, somehow incorporated the religious garb of a Sahara environment into its religious text. So if the Quran was written in the North Pole, we all had to and advocated the way people in North Pole were, what were the garb of the people of North Pole. All we had to go around in in fur suits, because it's written in our book that only going around with fur suits is the only way to be. So because it gets ridiculous, so they start getting rid of parts of the religious text. The same in Bible, in Torah, in Quran, in whatever else you got that is older than, let's say, 100 years old. Any book that is older than 100 years, and you try to follow its instruction, you become an originalist. Now let's extend this to let's extend this and to in order to see how ridiculous this idea of originalism is, whether in law, originalist in the Supreme Court, whether in law or in religious texts, the idea of originalist is crazy. And this is how you find out. Extend the idea into the fields from religion and law. Extend the idea to the field of chemistry. So an originalist chemist would be somebody whom today would find 100-year-old book of alchemy, opens it up, and start learning chemistry, trying to practice alchemy today. Follow the instruction in a 100-year book, and you call that an originalist. A 21st century alchemist would be considered an originalist chemist. Do you see how ridiculous this is? So that's chemistry. This is law. It's the same. If it's 100 years passes, 200 years passes, 300 years passes, it's stupid to follow it blindly and call yourself originalist and be proud of it. Whether it be in religion, whether it be in law. Extend it farther, from chemistry to biology. Imagine today somebody wanting to learn biology, instead of going and studying today's books on biology, goes and studies, picks up some books from 100 years ago and says, yeah, I'm going to study biology and I'm going to read these. Well, you can consider that person an originalist biologist, originalist constitutionist, originalist in the legal sense, originalist in the religious sense, and then orthodox extremist, originalist in the religious sense. And when you put these along the side of an originalist in biology, is going to find a 100-year-old book and try to learn what they understood, how they understood the body works. It's stupid, right? It's laughable. But nobody laughs when somebody says, yeah, I'm reading how to lead my life from a 2,000-year-old religious book, and I'm practicing how to organize my society from a 270-year-old scripture we call Constitution. In case of Uncle Sam's business, there are other constitution of other places, like England, the fucking British. They're still got a monarchy. They're still running a society based on a handbook that was written 2,000 years ago. What the fuck are you talking about? Royalists everywhere. It's sort of like Now the only thing the royals have become memes. Everybody had the technology has advanced to such a degree that there are celebrities that everybody knows. 50 years ago, all the celebrities were local. In your village, there was no TV, there is no radio as such. 100 years ago, in your village, your celebrities were in front of you. You could shake hands with them. Those were the in your village. You had celebrities. You see what I'm saying? So now Supreme Court judges are celebrities. You see what I'm saying? They're celebrities because everybody has a meme of them doing something or other. So this idea that our laws can stay the same, how we figure to run this organization can stay the same, although our knowledge of biology advances, our knowledge of physics advances, our knowledge of chemistry advances, everything advances, and any stupid fool who picks up a book from 100 years ago and tries to study physics, biology, or chemistry, we laugh at him. But anybody who, no, and anybody who wants to rewrite some of these religious texts that would be workable today, that would be acceptable to run a civilized society today, anybody who wants to alter those religious texts is forbidden. He has to be hung from the tree. Are you fucking kidding me? So you update all your other books, all your other knowledge, you update it, but the very basic ones, which has to do with your personality, you don't want to update that. Those has to do with your who you are. In the legal sense, it covers your place in the society and what you are or are not allowed to do. That's in the legal sense. And in the religious sense, it's what kind of person you should be. That's even deeper. So these two subjects, we got with regards to the person, what is good, you don't touch it. It's here since like 4,000 years ago. So there are some people from Israel who are basically bragging that yes, we have the right to get rid of all these vermin, and we killed. It's an achievement to get rid of the vermin. Well, if you haven't updated your text in 2, 3, 4,000 years, I guess that's in the text somewhere. Then the problem is the text that you haven't updated. You have updated your chemistry books, your biology books, your physics books, but you haven't updated your religious books, the one that defines what is right and what is wrong. You're still going by handbook that was written 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago. The newest one is the Islam, is 1,400 years ago. And that is out of date. It's out of date. There's a lot of nonsense in there, in all of these religious texts. A lot of nonsense. Because maybe it made sense at the time, like, all the instructions about how to deal with your slaves. Maybe it made sense at the time. It doesn't make sense in the society that you want to live in. So instead of, man up, and instead of saying that, yeah, it's there, but we don't read it, and we don't refer to it, and anybody who does, we look sideways at him, and we don't like him. Anybody who puts in our face how ridiculous some chapters and verses are, we hold a grudge against anybody who mentions the shortcomings of the religious book, of the true story. You're the bad guy if you bring up any shortcomings from the book. That's crazy. That's like saying, the same thing that the Catholic Church did to these scientists. Anybody who came up with the new idea, physicists especially, the whole thing was, they burned at the stake, and they chopped this guy's heads off, and burned that guy at the stake. Are you fucking... And these were the guys who were trying to update the physics and the chemistry and the biology books. These were those guys. The guys who are wanted to update these books, they burned them and killed them all for a long time until the science won. But still, religion and law are showing rigidity. I think that's wrong. It's really wrong. It's creating a lot of difficulty. George W. Bush, the evangelical, who you gotta have a lot of screws loose if you really think in evangelical terms. You gotta have a few screws loose. You know, he thought this crusade. That's it. It's a crusade, and he believed in his ideas. Well, he's a simple mind. He can't think for himself. Who taught him these ideas? A religious guy who was referencing a 2,000-year-old religious text. It's like it's like a physician killing a guy because he was referencing 100-year-old medical text. You would take if somebody who calls himself a doctor starts practicing from a book by a book that is 100 years old and gets somebody killed, they will put him in jail. They say, "Oh, motherfucker, why did you do this?" And he says, "I'm an originalist. I'm an originalist medical practitioner, and based on my originalist, I believe I did the right thing for this patient." Well, he died. They said, "No, what the fuck? We have better ways to doing this. You killed a guy for no reason because we have other better ways of dealing with this condition because we learned since then." But then you have evangelical guy who somebody filled his head with a lot of nonsense, originalist nonsense, religious originalist nonsense, and he thinks he has a religious mission. Are you fucking kidding me? So this is just the crime, and I say this because I recently came across apparently a note that Mr. Bush had sent to Tony Blair, before Iraq War, encouraging Tony Blair to, appealing to Tony Blair's Christian roots in order to really convince him to go into Iraq. I don't think George W. Bush had to appeal to anything. These people are fucking British. They're colonialists to begin with. They can't wait to get into a colonialist fight to take over somebody else's land. They can't wait to do that. They don't need any convincing. But still, George W. Bush, in his clumsy way, in order to, convince Tony Blair to join him in invasion of Middle East, he brings about his Christian roots. And Tony Blair, shortly after actually went and became a new Catholic, I guess. Catholic or something else. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? The evangelical and the newly minted Catholic or whatever, Church of England, invade the old countries that they had invaded 100 years ago together. Now, hand in hand, we're gonna invade them again. Originalist, because he's been taught an originalist idea in religion. In a legal term, originalist, that's even more stupid, because at least religion, you can say there are a lot of people making money out of the fucking religion. That's why they're originalists. But in law, it's obvious that you have to move with the times. You can't be an originalist, because a lot of those ideas, due to technology and evolution and education a lot of those problems no longer exist, and a lot of other problems exist that didn't used to exist.